Quincy at SwoleNerd Productions, and this is behind the scenes. And today we are on set at Art Point Studios. If you are from Fort Worth, you need to check out this place. If you're from Dallas, you need to check out this place. This is one of my favorite studios to come visit. They just have so many nice things. This is only one set there. And like, basically, I'm trying to tell you, you need to check this out. But it's Art Point Studios and Blink Coworking. If you create content, if you're a filmmaker, if you just want a nice place to hang out and meet other creative people, y'all need to come here. But we're actually here with the owner today, George Apodaca. He's on a whole different level. That's all I can say. He is on a whole different level than what I am. He's done commercial shoots, he's done weddings, he's done like big celebrity stuff, like stuff that I could only dream of doing. Whenever you hear this interview, you're going to be blown away by what he can do. I consider him a friend, and he doesn't know this yet, but I actually consider him a mentor. He's just full of advice, help, very helpful. Anytime I have a question, he always helps me out with anything. Ask for nothing in return. How's it going, man?
It's going good. It's going good.
Appreciate you making the time to do this. I know you're very busy.
I always like to make time for, my community and any way that I can help. So.
Yeah. So let's talk about Art Point Studios. How'd you come up with the name on that?
Yeah, so Art Point Studios comes from kind of two pillars of our company, and arc meaning the pinnacle of every story. So every story has an arc, and then point is purpose. So I like to think that everything that we do has purpose and builds impact. And so combining those two, arc is what gives you Arc Point. That's essentially what our production studio is named after.
Okay. So what made you come up with that name? Like, I know you were thinking about a lot of different things in the process of it. Like a lot of people will use their name, their last name or something. How did you settle on Art Point specifically?
I mean, trying to determine a name for your studio is extremely difficult, and so me and my team just we threw a lot of words out there. It's a lot of word vomit, but we came down to it by just understanding like what do we want, like what is our hope for our production company. And so I actually rebranded. It wasn't always Arc Point Studios. It was actually A to Z Creative prior to that. And so how that name came, I mean, A to Z, it's kind of simple, right? We do everything from A to Z when it's creative, but it actually came from the first letter of my last name, and then the last letter of my girlfriend at the time's last name ended with a Z. And she's a graphic designer. And so we were going to do everything from video production to photography to graphic design. Well, things didn't work out that way. The one thing that did work out is she became my wife. And so her last name is now mine. So, but at the time she was working with, she was a graphic designer for the Texas Rangers. Then she moved over to the Cowboys, and she was super busy, and so she didn't have a lot of time to do graphic design on the freelance level. So I only wanted to focus on the video portion of it. So I knew at one point I needed to rebrand, and so that was the idea behind changing the name. Is I didn't want it to look like we did everything from A to Z on the creative side, because we really didn't. Like, our focus was video production, and that's what I wanted it to be. So that was part of it. Is I always, like, when naming myself and naming the production company, I wanted to look towards the future, not necessarily what we're doing now, but what I want to do, right? Yeah. And so everything that I want to do with the production company and what we do at Arc Point is purposeful, right? It's to build impact for not only our clients, but also our team. Like, I want to build impact and create opportunity for our team as well. And so everything that I do and I look towards the future is like that we're creating that point. There's a point for it, right? And there's purpose. And so that's where Arc Point came from. Dang.
Yeah, that's crazy. I didn't know the deep meaning behind that. That's real cool. How long have you been doing video production for?
So I've been in the industry for about 12 years. The first few years, it was I don't really consider it like I was in the industry because I really didn't know what I was doing. I actually came from the telecom industry, and so I was selling cell phones. Like that was that was my main function, and I love the technology part of it, but the retail side of it, working weekends, and all the retail song and game, it just wasn't something that I wanted to continue. And so I had the opportunity to get my hands on some cameras and actually transition from selling cell phones to working with Sony Electronics, and was part of their marketing department on the consumer electronics digital camera side.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got my hands on cameras, and I started taking pictures. My job was to understand these cameras so I can help Sony market the products. And so that was my first go at like taking photos, and I really fell in love with it. And so that's kind of what propelled me into learning more about the industry. Again, I didn't know what the industry was. I didn't know that this, I knew what movies were and things like that. I knew I liked watching them, but I didn't know that like, oh, I can actually make movies or make content like this. And so, the first few years was just kind of figuring out like, oh, I really enjoy this and I want to pursue it as potentially making money, which takes a long time to do.
Okay, I have another question, but I want to leave with this one first. When you watch movies now, right, do you watch the movie, or do you like kind of like this, what's the word I'm looking for, like break it all down, like they have lighting here, the cuts, you see the transitions, like all that type of stuff?
Yeah, it's my wife really loves it, and so she loves that I pretty much break down every movie that we watch. And not only that, commercials, because I'm in the commercial space, and so I want to watch the commercials, and I'll actually rewind commercials.
You're the only other person that likes to watch commercials too. It's crazy.
And so I'll rewind commercials, and I'll be like, wait, I just noticed something, and I'll rewind them. And my wife, she doesn't really love that part of it, but and I'll point out things in certain films, and I'll be like, did you notice that? And then now she's like, well, I can't unsee that now. And so it's definitely something that I've evolved into, and I try to not do that so much. I try to enjoy the movie, but I mean, it's something that's, I want to say is second nature to me now, where I just like see these things and it opens up. But I also like use that as an advantage too, as a tool. Like, oh, how did they do this technique? I want to learn more about that. And so that's why how I look at it differently.
Yeah, me too. I look at it the same exact way. It's like, these are people like up there, like at a level that I'm not at. And if they're doing certain things, that's what I want to learn from too. So if they're using light in the back here, and then they're using like the pro mist and having the sun come up like that, then yeah, like I want to bring that type of look to my stuff as well.
Yeah.
So it's just cool to meet someone else that watches commercials too and all that.
Yeah.
Okay, so let's back up. What was your very first project?
Oof. So I kind of had some unofficial projects and some unofficial ones. So my very first project that I ever worked on was my best friend, his dad is actually a serial entrepreneur. And so at that time, he was actually opening up his own paintball field, paintball park in Norman, like right outside of Norman, Oklahoma. And so he was... basically, we were kind of his test dummies. Like, it was a non-conventional paintball park, right? Where a lot of times the paintball parks you see are the like with the colorful blow-ups and things like that, what you call speedball. Well, his was a military simulation field, but he added ATVs to the game. So it was actually pretty complex, and it's still one of the funnest times I'd ever had. And so it's basically you would ride on these ATVs. He essentially fabricated like a gunner seat next to the driver, where you could spin 360 degrees and shoot the paintballs at the people on the ground. Super fun. Pretty dangerous, but very fun.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, and so what I wanted to do was just make some videos, and I'm like, hey, people need to know more about this. I heard YouTube's getting really popular.
Well, what year was this?
Oh boy, this is 2012,
Yeah,
2011.
YouTube was like golden years right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, it was around that time. And so I'm like, yeah, let's make some cool videos. I think I just got a new MacBook for school, and I had iMovie, and I shot some videos on some like point and shoot cameras, and some even like it was when the actual original Droid phone came out. And I'm aging myself here.
Okay.
It's like the one that slid. It had a touchscreen and slid out with a keyboard.
Yeah, was that the Evo or something?
No, it's literally the original Droid.
Oh.
So this is when Android first came to the market. Again, this is when I was back working selling cell phones, and so I had I had one of these phones, and we duct taped it to I didn't even have gaff tape back then. Duct taped it to a helmet, and we just kind of shot some videos of us playing this game, and threw it on YouTube, and kind of saw his reaction of like, whoa, that's really cool. And so I think that's really what kind of ignited that passion, was seeing my best friend's dad, like his reaction to something like that, where it's like, I mean, looking back, the video was horrible. It was through a template on iMovie, but it was just that, like I said, that reaction that he had to it, I think that ignited something in me that I'm like, oh, this is really cool. Like, I want to continue doing this. And I think that has carried through my whole career of just like, when people see our work, it's really cool to see like, the emotions that it evokes, whether it's crying or happy or gets you excited. That's still something that from the first day that I created something to where it is now, that hasn't changed.
Dang. Okay. Do you still have access to that very first video?
Oof. I know I'm pretty sure it's on my original YouTube channel. So I think I might.
It'd be cool to see the transition, like from A to Z.
Yeah.
Like just see like how much has evolved since then.
Yeah. I think I have it somewhere.
Okay.
Yeah.
What projects were you doing in the beginning? After that one, what did you do next?
I actually did a lot of work, I shot pretty consistently for my best friend's dad, and we would go up there as often as we can. We were roommates, so it was easy for us to, hey, we're going to go up there for the weekend and shoot some videos. And I did that for I would say probably about 3 or 4 months consistently, and then from there transitioned to really just doing whatever I could get my hands on. And I think I ended up, one of the very first projects that I picked up right after that was a wedding. And I feel like that's one of the natural progressions into someone starting out, in the industry as a videographer, is like, oh, weddings are always happening, and it's kind of a natural and easy barrier into entry into the industry. And so someone was looking for a wedding videographer that was like, I think they had a whole budget of $300.
Man.
And I was like, done. Like, let's.
But what was it, like a full day's worth of work?
Oh yeah, it was a full day's worth of work. It was a Catholic wedding, so just the Catholic ceremony was an hour. Everything was in Spanish. I don't speak Spanish.
Oh really? I thought you did.
No, I don't. And so I actually had to edit. This thing in Spanish, and so I had to have the help. My parents are fluent, and so they helped a little bit when I had to edit the video. But I think collectively, I probably spent 3 or 4 weeks like of actual work on it, because I think I delivered like a 5-minute highlight video, and then probably like an hour-long like documentary style. Then I had to burn that onto DVDs. But I'm learning all these things in the process, right? Because I had never done any of that. Mm-hmm. So what does that mean? That means it takes you longer because you're learning how to do it, right? You're building these processes because you've never done it before, and so that process took so much longer. So I probably made like, I don't know, $1 an hour at that point.
Yeah,
if less.
Dang. Man, I remember having to burn stuff on DVDs and CDs. Like, I'm so glad that we are past that age.
Yep.
Now we just have SSDs for like a terabyte. It's just crazy. Okay, so you did like a lot of weddings, or what would you do?
Over the course of my career with weddings, I probably shot almost 200, I would say.
Dang, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you did, I'm assuming you did really good on that first one then.
Well, I don't think so. I mean, they loved it. It was, something that they could cherish for, for years and years and years. And I mean, that was 2013 is when I did my first wedding.
Okay.
And then I want to say I did one more that year. And then 2014, I really wanted to focus on that because, again, it was like something that felt easy to achieve is to get wedding clients. And so from there, like, I think I would consistently film, I think 2014, I probably shot like 12 to 15 weddings, and then it started getting busier and busier every year because, you're getting referrals from the bridesmaid, from when the bridesmaid is getting married, and referrals are amazing when it comes to weddings. And so I got connected with a wedding planner.
Okay.
And so that was the same thing, shoot my wedding and I can hook you up with all the weddings that, that I'm going to be planning, but then also I'll have all of my bridesmaids are getting married. And it actually worked out really well. That was, it was actually a Vietnamese client of mine. And it opened up my world to Vietnamese weddings.
Yeah.
And honestly, one of the funnest weddings I'll ever shoot are Vietnamese weddings. They're amazing. They're about 14-hour days. They start at like 7 a.m. and go to about midnight. I mean, it's a long day, but yeah, I mean, I just kept getting referred to by in that kind of small circle. And so I probably shot, I want to say like 50 or 60 Vietnamese weddings. And but it's kind of funny because the original couple that hired me that was in that group, we're still friends today, and they just had their 10-year anniversary. They just had their 10-year anniversary this year. And so seeing that and seeing them grow up is really cool. And yeah, I mean, from there it's just started doing wedding after wedding after wedding and every weekend.
Dang. So that had to burn you out at some point.
It did eventually. Right before COVID, started to reduce the amount of weddings that we were doing. I mean, we were at that point already kind of getting busy with commercial work. And at some point, I want to say 2016, 2017 is when I started to like really want to get into something other than weddings. I still enjoyed doing weddings, wanted to do them, but I wanted to have a change of pace.
Yeah.
And so, started to look for other types of work in the commercial corporate world. And probably 2019, right before COVID, shot a wedding in New York. And thankfully, I mean, that was a good thing is like I steadily got, more and more expensive clients throughout the year. And then that's one thing is I love traveling. And so when I was going to shoot weddings, I wanted them to be destination weddings. Otherwise I really wasn't going to take them on locally. And so, like I said, the last one I shot was in 2019, in New York. And then, 2020 happened. I had a few booked in 2020, but then they all got wiped out, because of COVID. And so that kind of gave me the full push to say, okay, I'm not going to do weddings from this point. I'm just going to focus on commercial. And I still shot weddings every once in a while, friends' weddings, friends of friends, because I still enjoy shooting weddings, especially when I can connect with people while I'm there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's not something that I seek out.
Gotcha. I thought you hated doing them.
No, I still enjoy them. It's just they're time consuming, and it takes a lot of time and energy. And I want to make sure that I'm focusing all that energy on them. And it's really difficult to do that when I'm doing, when I'm focusing on commercial side of things, because that takes a lot out of me. Running a studio takes a lot out of me. So it's not something I could give my full attention to. And I feel like I was maybe giving, I didn't want to feel like I was giving my clients, disservice by not giving my full attention to it.
Yeah. Yeah. Because, I recently got married and I was like, man, I should hire George to film our wedding. But, we'd already spoke about it. And it's like, yeah, I'm just kind of burnt out on weddings. So it's like, yeah, I'm going to make a joke about it. But yeah.
Yeah.
first nice camera that you bought?
The first like real camera that I bought was a GoPro.
Okay.
And I know, some people don't really consider that a real or a nice camera, but it was something that allowed me to, I guess, take my videos to the next level, and something that that I invested in. And I probably bought like 4 or 5 of them. And, it was, when I was filming the paintball, there was one YouTuber that made some amazing videos that I really I don't know, I looked up to him because he had these amazing paintball YouTube videos, and I'm like, man, I want to do that.
Do you remember his name?
I don't. I remember the brand that he used to shoot for. It was called the brand is HK Army.
Okay.
And I want to say the videographer's name was Casey or something like that.
Okay.
But I just remember he would have these like amazing paintball videos with super slow-mo. And so I always looked up to, doing that. But I didn't stay, I didn't do, I didn't shoot paintball videos for very long. So the first like real camera after that, I think, was a Canon T2i.
Dang, you got the one before me then.
Okay, yeah,
Dang.
that was my first like real real like DSLR interchangeable lens camera.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I love that little camera for at least for what it did and what it was and all that. But I hated the recording limit, because that's whenever I was starting to get into filming like longer sessions. And I don't know if you remember, but once you hit that 30-minute, it didn't tell you that it stopped recording. So so I recorded like an entire hour's worth of content and I only got half of it.
Yep.
So
the 29:59 limit. Yep.
Yep.
Thankfully, I think they stopped that.
No, I think they still have it.
They still have it.
They still have it.
Yikes.
I know. So that's actually why I switched from Canon to Blackmagic. From Canon, where did you go from there? Or do you still shoot Canon?
I mean, we still have Canon cameras. Like they're amazing cameras, and I upgraded steadily from there. I think the first full frame camera, when I thought I made it, I think it was a 5D Mark II, and it was full frame, and it was when I was shooting weddings. And I remember like shooting one wedding on it, and I'm like, oh wow, like I see the difference from full frame. And naive, not knowing what that meant back then. But
you know what's crazy? I still have not shot with a full frame camera.
Really?
Yeah, because Blackmagic, they recently came out with a full frame. So Blackmagics are still a crop sensor. Yeah. And to this day, I still want a full frame. It's just...
Yeah, and I mean, you kind of learn, like, once you start to understand the technology of what full frame versus Super 35 versus Super 16 versus, all these sensor sizes, it's like it's a tool, right? And how you utilize that tool is all based off of your experience. And so, but that was one thing that, you kind of think that you've made it at that point because, I got a full frame camera. This is awesome. But at that time, it's kind of funny. I was still working for Sony. And so, my first like real purchase, because the 5D Mark II, I think I got on Craigslist, but my first like real camera purchase was a Sony A7S, the original Mark I. This is when Sony just came out with their mirrorless cameras. Yeah. And I was still working for Sony on their digital imaging account, and so I was part of that revolution, right, with mirrorless cameras, because there were mirrorless cameras before with like Panasonic and other cameras like that, but not like full frame mirrorless. Yeah. And 35 millimeters, full frame mirrorless cameras. And so I was part of that revolution because we were part of that launch. And so our job was to, really push these cameras because they are going to change the game. And looking back, they really did change the game.
Everybody shoots Sony now.
Yeah. And so, I mean, I had 2 or 3 A7Ss. I think that was 2014. I
was going to say probably 2014 because
a
friend of mine, he bought that camera and it was so tiny compared to what I was using. And it's like, I remember they had the glamour effects on it. You remember that?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was showing me the black and white, the glamour effects,
That's right.
and like all those little effects.
Yeah, I forgot about that. And yeah, I just remember that the one thing that they talked about was like, oh yeah, this camera can shoot in the dark pretty much, like, you know, pump up that ISO.
Yeah.
And I think like at that point 6400 was like unheard of. Like no camera could go up to 6400 ISO. And you know, just being a wedding shooter, that was something that was super attractive. So I'm like, yep, I need to replace all my cameras with these. And so I did. And that was back when Sony gave us a 50% discount.
I was going to say, they probably gave y'all a really
So they hooked
good
us
discount.
up. They don't do that anymore, I don't think. But yeah, they hooked us up for sure.
So when did you leave Sony and start working for yourself full time?
It was later that year in 2014. I don't remember what month, but it was kind of a forced. At that point, my department was kind of getting dissolved, and their online store was getting dissolved. There was a lot of things shifting with Sony, and so it was my time to leave. And so I didn't. At that point, I had done enough weddings and other projects that I'm like, I'm gonna try to see where I can go with this, and see if I can continue to make money to where I don't need to get a real job. And so I think at that point I had got some like temp stuff, just to kind of make ends meet, you know, part-time contract type stuff of like, because I had a lot of experience in the retail side of things, so I try to get as many, you know, kind of side gigs that I could do to make ends meet and pay the bills while I was figuring this video thing out. And so I mean, I would say 2015 I got my first office, and that was February 2015 is when I got my first office. And then October later that year, October 2015 is when I hired my first employee.
Dang, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So what made you get an office exactly?
It was a great opportunity for me because there was actually a small marketing and advertising agency that was looking to partner with a videographer to, you know, create content for them to kind of white label through their agency so that they could offer that as a service. And they had an open office inside of their office suite that they're like, hey, we can do some pro bono work. You don't have to pay for, you know, office space. You can do a project or two for us a month, and, you know, we'll include this office space for you, and it'll help because you're going to be officing with us, which, you know, it's a good and bad thing kind of situation. So and at that point I didn't know, like, I wasn't actively looking for office, so I didn't know what it cost. And I didn't know, you know, okay, how much work should I be doing, because I don't know how much this costs. So, but it was an opportunity. And I think that's where I saw the advantage, is like, okay, it's something that I can do to progress what I'm trying to do. And so it worked out really well. It was a great relationship.
So I don't have an office yet. I just work from home. Why do you suggest getting an office?
The separation, I think, honestly, I don't know if I'd be where I'm at now if I didn't have like get up and go to work, because it could just be because I'm the person that I'm at, and that's how I work. But it's extremely hard for me to separate myself at home from work, right? If I have to work at home, then I'm not as effective as if I'm here at the office. And so like there's a lot of things that you have to think about when working from home, right? Your spouse, your kids, your dogs, your things are happening at home, right? Where it sounds simple, you can just, I can just go into my office, but I think the separation really pushed me to you know, to move forward, right? And so not to say that you can't move forward, you know, working at home, but it was something that I could meet clients at my office. It just made me feel official. It's almost that like fake it till you make it situation where you're like, oh, I have an office, like I know what I'm doing, but realistically I had no idea what I was doing. had only been in the industry for like a year and a half, maybe. And then I'm still figuring it out because it's like, okay, I'm getting into the corporate world, but I still shoot weddings. How do I brand myself? Like what, all that comes into play. And it's not as simple as just getting an office and everything works out, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of things, supplementary things that come with that. But I think, it was the fact that I was getting up, going to work, that it's a certain mindset that you have when you're going to the office.
Would you say that building that gave you the office, was that your first commercial client or?
No, my first commercial client, which again, it's hard to brand it that way. I actually was hired to shoot and produce a commercial for I don't even know, a cooling towel, I believe. Those like,
you got to break that down to me.
So they sell these towels at like Home Depot and Lowe's for like the construction workers that like it has this technology inside of it that you get it wet and then you kind of like wave it around or snap it or whatever, and then it's supposed to make you feel cooler.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was. It was this guy he had patented this product that he had created where essentially you get the towel wet, you snap it, and then it gets cool.
Okay.
And so it markets, its main market was construction workers, people who work outside, people who work out, pretty much anybody that wants to feel cool on their neck kind of situation. And so my job was to create a 30-second commercial that he could use at trade shows.
Okay.
And so he was doing a trade show here at the William Rogers Center or whatever that is, the convention center here in Fort Worth. And he paid me $250 to come film him demonstrating the product. And then from there, that was kind of that's what I used as like the VO, the voiceover is him just talking about the product. And then I gathered up my friends, my girlfriend at the time was now my wife. I was like, hey, we need to do some modeling here. So I grabbed one of my friends. He's a mechanic. And so he drove over to my house. He was working at a dealership right down the street. He came to my house, opened up the hood of his car. I threw the towel on his neck, took some photos and some video, and said, "All right, thanks." Right. And then my wife, we went to a park and she was running, like she was a jogger or a runner, and so took some photos of her with the towel wrapped around her neck. And then my best friend, who I was talking about earlier, I don't know what he was doing at the time, but we went to Home Depot and got some construction like vest and a hard hat so he could be a construction worker. Yeah. And so
you're really going all in on this.
Yeah. It was just kind of figure it out. Let's see what we can get. And he did like a quick testimonial of like, yeah, man, this towel keeps me really cool on my work days. And then, toss the...
Did you even get one for free?
Oh, yeah. I ended up with like 20 of them. And so I was like giving them out after as Christmas gifts.
Man, I thought I was cheap. No, I'm messing with you. But, okay. So how did you get that client exactly? Did I miss that?
I honestly don't remember. Okay. I mean, at that time, I think I was surfing for, gigs on Craigslist, to be honest. So that was one of the only like platforms that I knew of at that point. Okay.
So you had a lot of luck with Craigslist then?
I don't want to say luck, but I had some, yes.
Okay. I've never used Craigslist for video production. Do you still suggest using Craigslist?
No. I honestly don't know the last time I've been on that. I used to be on it a lot. For like the buy, trade, sell part of it, and I saw that it had a gig. I don't know what it's called.
Like a section or something.
Yeah, a gig section. Yeah. And so, just started to search on there, and people were looking for videographers and things like that. But I don't think there wasn't the platforms. There weren't the platforms that are available now. Like even with Facebook wasn't as evolved as it is now with groups and things like that. Mm-hmm. And so Craigslist is always kind of scary because you don't know who you're talking to and what that situation is. So, not something I recommend now.
Gotcha. What do you recommend as far as getting new clients?
Honestly, networking, like community networking, has been the biggest catalyst to the growth, to my growth is growing the company. And I mean, it's not something that works out super quick. There's always the cold emails and the cold reach out and things like that, which I have done, but it hasn't been as effective as like building my network. Yeah. It's like farming, right? You plant your seeds and you kind of watch your crops grow, and it's not something that's going to grow overnight. And sometimes it does if you hit the right opportunity. But I mean, the more that you get yourself out there, the more that you're, putting out in the world that you want to see manifesting things. Like if I want to work on a certain project, then how can I go and put that out in the world, in the universe, so I can get that back, right? Versus just waiting for somebody to come say, hey, come do this project for me, even though you've never done something like that before. Yeah. Which does happen, but it's not as often as, putting yourself out there, introducing yourself to people, letting them know what you do. And I think that's one of the most effective ways, because you're already breaking that first barrier of being in front of somebody and them putting a face to who they're going to be working with. And honestly, relationships and referrals have been, the biggest catalyst and the biggest business development thing that I could have done. Okay. So I have this issue a lot. I go out, I network, I meet people, they're very interested, but then I never hear back from them. Mm-hmm. What do you suggest I do or other people do? Yeah, I mean, like I said, I kind of related a lot to farming, right? You got to water, you got to water, you got to water. And sometimes it's not necessarily like always reaching out to them and talking to them, right? It's like getting connected with them on LinkedIn and then posting stuff on LinkedIn of what you're doing and things like that, because there are going to be opportunities and situations where they need a videographer and you want to be on top of their mind because they always see your stuff, right? And again, it's not something that happens overnight, and it takes time. And then once that happens and you start to gain traction there, then they're going to refer you to other people. Referrals are one of the most powerful things that you can get as a business. And honestly, like, I get referrals of people that I've never even worked with. And it's because, you build that presence online, you build that network and that community, and people are just going to recommend you just because they know you as the video guy, or because people will ask, like, hey, they'll ask their community, and, they'll ask, hey, I need a videographer for this. Who do you recommend, right? And then there's going to be a person on there that you've connected with in some way that's going to be like, oh, Vince is your guy. And so that's extremely powerful, to get more and more people do that. Because again, I'll get a message that says, oh, this person recommended you. And I'm like, oh, cool. I don't know who that is. And so I try to, do research on how we got connected or where they came from. But there has been a lot of instances where people have recommended us just because they've seen our stuff online, they like it, they resonate with it, and they're like, oh yeah, you need to hire these guys. Okay, so what do you do whenever someone comes up to you, hey, I want y'all to shoot this, but when you quote them, it's too expensive for them? I mean, that's always going to happen, right? What I try to do is try to get their budget before I start to quote, because we quote projects that are all over the map. So it's good to understand where their starting point is or where their ending point is. The bad thing is not a lot of people know that or want to give you that information, right? Because they think that you're just going to go to the top of their budget. But realistically, like, how we look at projects is, okay, well, if they have $100,000 for this project, then here's what we can do. But if they only have 10,000, then here's what we can do, right? It's not a matter of that we can't do it unless unless the scope of it, what they're looking for, just doesn't match what their budget is, which does happen. It's just a matter of understanding, like, okay, where's your starting point? Where's your ending point? Because that's going to help us understand it. Because if I quote you for something that I think we can make this happen by doing this, it might be over your budget, and then you're going to say, oh wait, that's way more than I was thinking. It's like, okay, well, even tell me what you're thinking, like what you think your threshold is for pricing on this, because this is really going to help determine what the estimate's going to look like, right? And so again, it's like someone's asking to build a house, and I will use this this analogy on them, is like, you know, someone's asking to build a house, but then like, okay, how big is the house? How many bedrooms? What do you want your house to look like? Where do you want it? Where do you want it to be? You know, all these questions that we need from them help determine how much this house is going to cost, right? And so it really comes down to understanding what their budget is and like how we can make that happen. And you know, even if it's a smaller budget, like just let us know what that is, and we can determine on how we can achieve it within that budget. Okay. Because again, it's you want to try and get that as much as possible, because a lot of times you will go way over. And even there's times where we've under budgeted or even underbid something where maybe the client didn't think that we knew what they were really looking for. And so, you know, underbidding is actually a thing as well.
Okay. So you mentioned 100,000, 10,000. Is there something that you just will not touch, like a certain budget?
Not really, only because, I mean, we have our processes, right? And so that is really what tells me what I can and can't do. And so, you know, we have clients that will say, hey, we have this budgeted, and again, if we can make that happen on, you know, on a smaller budget from what they've normally done, and it makes sense for us to do it, then we're going to do it, even if it's under what we would consider our threshold. And so that's why I don't like put a number to like, oh, we wouldn't do anything for this, because I always try to look at things as opportunities, and it's like, maybe it's not going to hit the margins that it makes sense for us to do it, but maybe there's an opportunity to showcase how we can solve this problem. Maybe it's like a client that we've worked with for 10 years and we really just want to help them. Maybe we're just not going to make money on it. So there's not necessarily a number that I'll say like no to. Okay, so
if you had someone come up to you like, hey, I want you to shoot a birthday party for $200. But would you say yes, no?
I mean, there's a lot of questions that have to come. Whose birthday party? When is it happening? You know, is it someone that I can send? Does it have to be me? You know, there's a lot of things that I look at. It's never an automatic no. Right? And so there's a lot of questions that I ask to understand the full scope of what it is. And, you know, the only time I'll say no is if they don't give me that information. And is if like, you know, if I'm asking these questions and they're not wanting to tell me what's, you know, what the full scope is and what's going to happen, then that's the only time I'll really say no, is I just need more information.
Okay. So how did you come up with your discovery questions?
I mean, just experience over time, just understanding the questions that I frequently ask, of what I need to know. I think just I relied a lot on the communities too. I'm active on a lot of the Facebook communities and just learning of what other people do. I'm a big believer in info sponging, understanding what other people are doing, what other industries are doing as well. And so it's just a matter of kind of experiencing, you know, what questions do we really need to know about this project, or to any project that's going to help us determine, you know, if we're going to be successful on this or not.
Is there one specific question or your top 3 questions that someone should have on their discovery form?
What's your budget? I think that's one thing that should be on there. I mean, I think one of the main things that I always look for are like, what's your goal for the project, right? Because we get a lot of inquiries and clients that tell us like what they want to do and say, hey, I want to create this video and do this and this and this. And then we ask them, okay, like what's your goal for this? And then like, what's the purpose? Like, what are you trying to do? Are you trying to is your ultimate goal to sell more products? Is your ultimate goal to train your employees? Is your ultimate goal to, you know, because we want to make sure that aligns the project that we're doing, and everything that we're doing with the project aligns with those goals. Because, you know, if you're trying to inform people about your product, but then you're maybe your creative idea is, something that's way outside of that, then we want to make sure and guide you that way to where if your goal is to sell more products, then we need to have a call to action at the end. We need people to understand what the next steps are to purchase this product. And so I think those are the three questions are, what's your budget? What's your goal for the project? And then the last one is, what are you trying to achieve?
Okay. So let's talk about something fun. What was the most you've ever charged for a project? And how did it feel sending that quote?
The most that we've charged for a project is around $80K. And I mean, I felt good about it. I feel good about everything.
Did you feel nervous or anything?
No, I mean, obviously it's, everyone gets sticker shock because they've never, if they haven't been there before, they're like, whoa, is this for real? I mean, honestly, we've sent bids out for almost $1 million on projects. And so it's all dependent on understanding your processes. And if you feel good about your processes, then the numbers should make sense, right? And the numbers are the numbers. And, if you need to work on a project for a month or 2 months and your numbers tell you that it's, going to cost, $200,000, then as long as your process tells you and your numbers align with that, then it makes sense, and your client should know that.
Okay, so how did you come up with 80K? What are they getting out of this 80K?
I mean, it depends, right? Because there are some projects where we've done where it's a 2-day shoot, but the reason why it's 80K is because the amount of crew that we need to execute the project, right?
You're not one-man banding it?
No. But not to say that you can't, right? If it's a long-term project, then, by all means, that could be the right number. But it all depends on the resources needed to complete the project. And so sometimes a lot of crew is needed, right? The resources are then other resources like locations. Locations are expensive. Equipment's expensive. And so it just depends. There's not one project that's like, if you charge, $80,000, you're going to get this every time. It's not like that. It's a matter of how can we execute this project? And it's one client, right? It's one client that's, one project's 80,000, then the next one's 40, then the next one's 20, then the next one's 60. So it just depends on, again, what the scope of the project is and how we can achieve it, and that's really where the budget comes from.
Okay, if you're comfortable disclosing it, how much profit did you make from that 80K?
Honestly, I don't know that off the top of my head.
Yeah.
And it's not as much as you think, I can tell you that.
Yeah. All right, so let's go in reverse. What was the worst project that you've ever worked on?
I would say, it's not one particular project, but a type of project. Okay. And reality TV.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And there are not all of the projects that we worked with in reality TV, but there's just a lot of, it really comes down to the projects that we worked on is like the client or the people in charge, are they doing what they need to do for this to be a successful project? And sometimes there are people that you work with that make projects extremely challenging. And so there was a couple reality TV projects that that were extremely challenging, and they didn't need to be. And it makes it obviously understanding now. I would never do knowing what the red flags are and things like that. Understanding being in that situation, I would probably never do those again. But that was just an interesting experience.
What shows did you work on?
I worked on some of the shows that we worked on weren't super popular, but we worked on there's a show I worked on for a long time, selling private jets, selling mega mansions, private islands, selling private islands.
What the heck? So you probably went everywhere with that one.
Oh yeah, that took us around the world for sure. But one thing that I do is working on these shows, like I loved building the relationships that I built. One of the producers on the show, it's like he's a great friend of mine. His name's Peter, amazing guy. He's no longer in the industry, but we still communicate every once in a while.
Yeah.
So but yeah, I mean, I always take it, what I try to do for every production is try to, regardless if I'm making money on it or whatever it is, like I use it as an opportunity to learn, and as an opportunity, right? And so I always want to make sure that even if I'm on a bad production and it's going awry, that it's like I take that as a learning opportunity, right?
Yeah.
Okay, what went wrong on this production that I can use to make sure that this next one goes right?
Okay. So is it true what they say, like in reality TV, everything is scripted?
Not necessarily. No. I mean, there are some scripted parts to it. But I mean, the essence of reality TV is essentially the fact that people think it's real, right? And there are real elements to it. Now, when you work in production, you understand that you have to control some of these elements, or else, you can't, it's going to be extremely difficult to almost impossible to make it happen and to make it look like a real thing on TV. But there are definitely real elements to it, and it's not scripted. Now, there are some scripted parts, and things producers feed you to like tell the story a little more concise. But I mean, reality TV it's interesting.
Gotcha. What has been your favorite type of project to do?
That's like asking who's your favorite kid, or
Really?
But I mean, it's hard to determine like one project that is my favorite, because I have so many that I absolutely love. And I mean, some of my favorite projects have been travel projects, because that's one of my favorite things to do in this world is travel. And thankfully I get to do that essentially for a living now. I get to travel the world and experience things, and those are some of my favorite projects. But then I'm also a big sports guy. I love sports. Like, I'm a big baseball fan, big football fan. And so anytime I get to do that as far as part of a project, then I always love that opportunity as well. So sometimes, and it has nothing to do with traveling, right?
Yeah.
Like, when we get to work with the Cowboys, that's some of my favorite projects, because I'm a Cowboys fan, I'm a football fan, and so getting to go to the stadium and onto the football field, like I don't know, it feels right.
Yeah.
So those are some of my favorite projects. I don't have one in particular that I can think of that just like is my absolute favorite.
Yeah. So I saw that you filmed the MLB All-Star Weekend. I think that's what it is. What all did you do for them?
So Austin and I actually got the opportunity to work with Nike, and so Nike's a huge brand partner, sponsor for the MLB, but also the All-Star Week. And so we actually got to do some really cool stuff with some of the up and coming MLB players, and then some of the legends as well, and some of the current players. And so we shot some activations, some Nike activations, and they were all like VIP players activations, so it wasn't open to the public. And so yeah, it was a really cool experience getting to be a part of the MLB All-Star Week.
Is there any brand that you want to work with that you haven't yet?
I would say maybe one of the brands that, like I said, because I love traveling, and I love the outdoors. I don't know, like an outdoor brand would be really cool, like Patagonia or Yeti, or just like kind of like an outdoor adventure brand, I think is a brand I would definitely love to work with, because we've worked with a lot of sports brands, a lot of travel brands. We actually one of our active partners is American Airlines, so thankfully we get to work with them a lot and travel with them a lot. So yeah, I think just not one brand in particular, but I think outdoor brands I think are one of the ones that are on my radar.
So do you have cheap travel now, since like you work with them?
When we are working with them, yes.
Gotcha. Okay.
But unfortunately, when we're just
I thought we just became best friends.
No, my wife and I are on vacation. We we obviously, of course, fly American as much as we can, but you know, it's just like normal. Got to use those points.
Man. Okay. So what are you currently working on?
We have a few projects that we're currently working on, specifically with American, and the Chicago Cubs and the Texas Rangers. We've been working with them for a couple years now on these partnerships, which is really cool. I think those are some of my favorite projects, are the brand partnerships, because you get to showcase two really cool brands partnering together and tell a story in that sense. And so, you know, we've done some partnerships with like Pepsi and 7-Eleven, Wells Fargo and Imagine Dragons. So those are some of and what I feel like our bread and butter is brand partnerships, telling the story of how these brands work together to give their customers and their clients a better experience.
Okay, so let me ask you a question. How did it feel the first time you saw one of your projects on TV?
It was kind of weird, and honestly, what it was a reality TV project, because I definitely don't seek those out to go watch them.
Yeah.
And the first time I actually saw it, I was my wife and I were actually on our honeymoon in the Bahamas.
Oh dang!
And I hadn't turned on the TV the entire time that we were there, but like one time we were getting ready for dinner and I'm like, all right, I'll turn on the TV, and yeah, one of our Selling Jets shows was running, and I'm like, whoa, that's kind of wild, because I mean, I don't think I would have ever saw it back home.
Mm-hmm. So the reality stuff that you've done, you don't go back and watch what you've done?
No.
Do you watch any of the projects that you've done once they're done?
When they're out in the wild, no, I don't go actively try to find them.
Mm-hmm.
I do love when, our crew and our team members will send a clip, or actors that we work with will send us a clip that they saw it, or even family members and things like that will see it on social and then say that they saw it on TV. I think that's more rewarding than actually seeing it on TV. Mm-hmm. I think that's just, again, I think part of that has to come with the community. It's like that other people are excited to see it, and they want to show me that they saw it.
Okay, this is funny because you say out in the wild. I say the same thing, and other people laugh about it. It's just funny that we have like very similar, like, what would you call it? Like talking characteristics, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just thought that was funny. But okay, so what are your goals for ArtPoint?
Honestly, ArtPoint is our production company, and then Blank Coworking Studio is our production facility. And so, I mean, my goal for everything on both projects or both companies is to be able to grow, to create more opportunity. So for ArtPoint, like, I want to grow the team because I want to grow our team to create more opportunity for our team members, right? So, seeing Austin and Josie and Bridget and Abby grow, like, I want them to be able to grow into the facets that they're wanting, that they're interested in, right? So that means that, we're a small production company, so they're wearing multiple hats. So sometimes they don't get to do or focus on the one specific thing that they're wanting to do, right? Mm-hmm. So if we can grow our team, that means things can be taken off their plate so that they can focus on the thing that really fuels them. And so that's something that the goal of mine is to grow the team so that our team has more opportunity to do that and to focus on what really fuels them.
Okay.
And so with Blank, I mean, same thing, right? we have a 7,000 square foot studio facility here, and we get opportunities that our studio's maybe just not big enough, or that we're currently booked, or things like that. And so, I want to add on more facilities, grow our facility here, so that we can create more opportunities for other production companies, other videographers. Like, we only have a certain amount of office space available, but we have a long list of people wanting office space. So same thing. Like, I want to be able to offer opportunities to more people.
So have you thought about opening up a second location, or you just want to build up this one?
I mean, I'm open to either. Definitely. I mean, we've got a lot of requests to come to Dallas.
Of course. I just made this post yesterday.
And I mean, I love Dallas. Like, we do a lot of work there. And it's just running a studio here in Fort Worth is a little easier because this is our HQ for ArcPoint, right? Yeah. So it's a little easier to manage. I'm 20 minutes down the road. When you add another facility that's potentially an hour away, that adds a lot of logistical challenges that I don't know if I'm quite ready for that yet, because my energy, I only have so many hours in a day. Yeah. My energy will have to shift one way or another, right? Whether it's, if I open another facility and it's in Dallas, then maybe I have to hire somebody to run that, where here it's a little easier to run because it's not easy, but it's easier to manage because, we're working out of it actively as with our production company. So something that's we're definitely, open to and considering. It's just a matter of where, when, how.
Okay, so the question I posted on Facebook was, we live in Fort Worth, right? So how many of your clients are outside of Fort Worth? How many do you have in Fort Worth? I feel, for me personally, I just feel like it's very hard to find Fort Worth clients. I hate going to Dallas. I don't want to go over there at all, but I will. It's just not something I want to do.
Yeah. I honestly don't know the number of how many versus how many, but I mean, we have a decent amount of Fort Worth clients, and that was a big focus of mine, because my first office was in Las Colinas. It was in the center of the Metroplex. It was very conveniently located because if I had work in Dallas, I'm halfway there. I'm close to DFW Airport. And if I have work in Fort Worth and I live in Fort Worth, it just makes sense, right? So I made the push to move the studio here to Fort Worth because this is my home. This is where I live. I love the community here, and I love the entire DFW community, but just I wanted to really, really focus on doing really, really cool work here in Fort Worth. And so, for the last 5 years that we've been here, that was a big focus of mine, understanding the businesses here in Fort Worth and what they need and how we can help, not just on a production level, but just on a community level. And so I think that's what really helped us build our clientele here in Fort Worth, is just being a part of the community, the Fort Worth community, be part of the network. Because Dallas is an easy answer because it's very commercial, right? Yeah. The commerce there is a lot heavier than here in Fort Worth, where it takes a little more time and effort to build clientele here in Fort Worth. But that's something, again, that I wanted to focus on. Moving the studio here to Fort Worth is to build that community. So I think we have a very healthy amount of clients here in Fort Worth, and looking for more.
Man, we're gonna be fighting for them then. But so say someone wanted to work for you, right? What qualifications do you look for when hiring someone?
We're not a traditional company in the sense of that, like, you need a college degree and kind of the normal bullet points. What I really look for is that you enjoy what you do, because that's important to me. And like that, I want you to be fueled by what you're doing and it's not draining you, because all the cliches of, oh, thank God it's Friday, or it's Monday coming up soon, and things like that. Like, I don't have that mindset. I don't have that mindset of, oh man, Monday's coming up. Oh, Friday's here. Yay. I get to actually enjoy my life. Like, I want people who are that enjoy this industry, enjoy this work, that it fulfills them, right? That because we have crazy schedules, we have, and production life is not for the faint of heart. And so, I don't want that to drain people. I want it to, like, for me, my schedule is crazy, but most of the time it ignites me, right? It fuels me. Where if you don't love this industry and you don't love what you're doing, it's going to drain you really, really quickly. So those are the people that I'm looking for, is the people who really love this industry. And you don't even have to have a lot of experience in here, right? Like we've hired a couple of our interns, and they didn't have a lot of industry experience. We gave them some of their first industry experience. They had college degrees, but I don't even have a college degree. My editor, who is my longest term employee, she's almost going on 10 years. Next year, she doesn't have a college degree. And so that's not something that we necessarily look for, because to me, it's not necessarily just a piece of paper, but I think a person's character says a lot more about them than the fact that they graduated college.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Okay. Do you have any advice for people that want to start in this industry?
Find an internship.
Okay.
Honestly, that's I wish that's something that I would have done. And that's honestly one of my favorite things that we do here, and one of my favorite programs is our internship program. I wish I would have done an internship when I was starting in the industry. It would have I feel like it would have given me a lot more guidance, and maybe would have, sped some things up a little bit.
Yeah.
But that's one of the things that we provide here, is that industry experience, right? Because when I was first starting, like, my only goal was to go and find clients, because I had to make money, had to hustle, do it as much as I could. And there's always going to be an element to that in this industry, but I didn't have any guidance. I didn't have any structure, framework that I could fall back to other than YouTube, right? I was
YouTube University.
YouTube was my internship. YouTube was my college. I learned, how to operate a camera on YouTube, how to, move a camera, how to do all these things on YouTube when I was first starting out. But there's no curriculum. There's no guidance or structure to YouTube. It's just type in some how to do this and how to do that, right? And so an internship really helps you, not just helps you with the guidance of, what to be doing in the experience, but I think one of the most valuable things, and we've talked about a little bit today, is the network. The network in this industry is so imperative. It's so important to have a strong network. And that's, an internship allows you to do that. You're working for a production company or a company that has already built an established network, and you're piggybacking off of that, right? You're then building your network based off of what that company has been working towards. And so that's the value. I feel like that's the value that we bring, is that we have so many industry friends, team members on the external level, that's what we do as an internship, is we provide connection to those, to those other directors, those other DPs, those other photographers that are eventually going to be looking for their own, their own crew. That's what you want to develop.
Okay. So if someone wanted to hire you, this is where you're going to promote yourself. If someone wanted to hire you, what is your social media? How do they get a hold of you? Whatever information you can give them. Yeah.
So everything, all of our socials for ArcPoint Studios is ArcPoint Studios, ARC, POINT Studios. And then for the studio, it's blank, but it's not with a K. It's BLANC, and _FW for Fort Worth. And that's all of our socials. And yeah, you can follow us through those two channels.
All right, guys, that was George Apodaca. I really appreciate you making the time to do this.
Yeah, of course.
I learned so much about you, everything that you do. It's just, dude, it's crazy what you've done. I really want to be at your level one day. You are who I look up to in this business. A mutual friend, Kevin Lee.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So Kevin and I were talking, and, we're talking about podcasts and cameras and stuff. And somehow we brought up you, and he's like, dude, George is on a whole nother level. I was like, I know. I thought that was just me, but it's just crazy because he is at a different level than I am, is how I see it, and he sees you above him too. So it's just
That's crazy because
Yeah.
I look up to Kevin. Like, I mean, I met him through a mutual connection, Chris Burke, that he used to do some work with, and Joe Klein. And so, yeah, I just remember just like looking at what he's done and stuff like that. And it's I don't know, it's one of those things that you kind of paint a picture of somebody online until you get to know them more, and you're like, okay, like you're a real person, and that's cool. Like, and that's why I like, connections and relationships, because, I think some of those like barriers of who people are, kind of break down a little bit because you're having, genuine connections with them.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and I saw that you had a Peter. I don't know how to say his last name. It started with a P. P-I-O or something like that.
Oh, yeah, Peter.
He was
Peter
like,
Mockery.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Like,
or Peter Mokry.
Mokry? Is that how you say
Yeah,
it?
Peter Mokry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I saw him working with you. It's like, man, that's crazy. Like you work with people that I look up to, and it's just, they're all here. But,
Yeah, he was actually here gaffing a project for working on a project for McDonald's yesterday.
Okay, for McDonald's.
Yeah, so they were shooting. So one of my good friends in the industry, Chris, he's a director of photography, and he was actually one of my. So Abby was my editor, was my first hire. Chris was technically my second hire. And so now he's doing, I mean, he does he's a freelance DP, and he does work for Ford and McDonald's and Pepsi, Dr. Pepper. Like, he does some really cool stuff. And so, he does a lot of DP stuff for us. He actually took him we went to Thailand for a few weeks on a project, and, took him with me. And so he's a great friend of mine. And so they were actually here, renting the studio, shooting a commercial for McDonald's. So that was kind of cool. Just, it's nice to not be involved in some of those projects that I can kind of just like, poke my head in and see.
Yeah.
That's what I love about the studio, is like you kind of see, all sorts of different stuff, and that's shot in here. And this is probably their third or fourth McDonald's commercial that they've shot here. So it's pretty cool. But yeah, crazy. I mean, Peter's a big gear guy. He loves his gear, and he's a big YouTuber now.
Yeah. Yeah, he's definitely coming up. I see him. I watch him from time to time.
Yeah. He does really great work on his like, I don't even know, walkthrough videos or whatever. Yeah. They're really entertaining.
We got to get you going too.
Oh, I have no time to be a YouTube sensation.
Gotcha. But yeah, well, one day we'll talk about that later. But yeah, one day. All right, we're going to go ahead and end it here. I'm Vince G of SwoleNerd Productions. This is George Apodaca of ArtPoint Studios and Blank Coworking. Y'all check them out. If y'all come check out the studio, tell them that I sent y'all, and just y'all need to check it out. That's all I can say. Y'all need to check it out, and we'll see y'all on the next one. Yeah. That'll be the end.
That's a wrap.